I first want to say thank you both for coming. And I want to share why I created this. So I have had technically four podcasts over the last 16 years. When I self-published my second book back in 2010, I created Apple podcast player had just come out. It just had been released. And I adopted it right away. And I actually took the chapters from my book and recorded excerpts of them, not the whole book. And I created a podcast series where based on my book. And I did this back in 2010. When I was going through updating my app the other day on podcast, Apple app, that feed is still shows. It's still up there. Now I did try to play it and it doesn't play because it's connected to an RSS feed that I no longer have that account with anymore. So I actually need to go and see if I can find a way to take it down. But I don't think anyone's looking for it because like I said, it's so old. But the point I'm trying to make is that podcasting has been around since I first heard about it back in like 2009 and 10 when I did my very first show. And what I really wanted to emphasize this more now because personally, I'm really seeing podcasting really ramp up massively. There's more people producing shows now that video is now become a thing more so than ever. You know, it used to be back in when I did mine, it was all audio only, which I was totally fine with. I did not want to be on camera. And then I realized that I was missing out on a massive opportunity by not being on camera. So now I record all of my episodes video first, and then I then repurpose that content as audio. So it's video first on YouTube, and then the audio goes into my RSS feed, which is like a distribution channel network, and it pushes out my audio out to Apple and I'm not Buzzsprout, but Apple and Amazon and Spotify, and there's probably about maybe 15 networks that my show gets pushed out to. Now, with that said, also well, I mean, since I'm talking about video, YouTube really made a point a few years ago of kind of planting their flag in the sand, saying that they want to be known also too as a podcasting network, not just video, but meaning video podcasting. They've been talking about this for about 5+ years. So as a result of that, when people now call themselves a podcaster, truly they really are talking about what I was just calling a YouTuber. But they're also doing exactly what I do, which is redistributing the audio iteration of the video through the RSS feeds. So with that happening, more and more people are embracing YouTube, more and more people are, creating more programming, which in turn then means that they are looking for more people to interview, to have as guests on their shows, which opens up a whole new opportunity for us as author creators, published creators that perhaps might not have been as much as it was several years ago. Now, I do want to say something here too. As I said, I've had four shows. The one I have now is my fourth show. There is such a thing as what I'm going to call just call podcast fade, which basically the person just loses interest and they don't record anymore. We're going to talk about that more in depth in a moment. But the point I want to make is that while there are people who start shows and then they drop off, there's always new hats being thrown in the arena all the time. And I personally know, again, because there are more and more shows being produced, more and more of them are needing programming, they're needing good guests to interview, which is a perfect alignment for all of us here, here today on the call. So And also, too, I just want to put this out there. I want you to stay until the end because I've got a strategy that I want to share with you, which I'm calling the podcast guesting sales amplifier, which I just discovered yesterday. I think is brilliant. I can't wait to share it with you. So I'll tell you more about that towards the end. So let's kind of hop right into it. So I'm going to ask a question. How many of you believe that podcast guesting is exclusively about visibility? You can type in or say verbally if you wish. Type in the chat or say verbally what you, if you, yes or no.
True.
True. Okay. And for many people, myself included, that is, that is what it is. But that also is the reason why many people who go on podcasts don't get sales because the mentality is that because I'm on a show and someone hears it, they're going to come and maybe check out what I have, my book, whatever it is I have. But there's more to it than just being on a show, just being visible on a show. There's a strategy behind how you take advantage of the opportunity so that it can then bring people, as I say, from into your ecosystem where then you increase the chances of you getting sales. And again, when I talk about this bonus strategy in the end, I'm going to show you directly how you can co-partner with podcasters to speed that process along. Now, again, if it's just focused on strictly visibility, like if I just show up and I just keep doing it or whatever, it's just all going to happen for me. That's actually limited thinking. It's actually thinking too small. Now, this is what I also know about podcasting. Podcasting goes together to me, especially with authors, in particular about authors, because all of us here are authors, go together like peanut butter and chocolate. Okay. Shows are looking for authors, authors are looking to be on podcasts. So there's already an automatic synergy going on. But what's happening is the author is not necessarily pursuing and or they're not leveraging the opportunity, which we're going to talk about that as well as they could. And we're going to talk about that. So first of all, podcast guesting at its core is about relationship building. It's about trust building. It's about authority. Yes, it's about revenue. So relationship, trust, authority, and revenue. And I'm going to show you tonight why. Now, most of the books, this is what I know about podcasting personally. I have I have bought more books. I have invested in more programs, and I've had more people invest and work with me because of my own show. Although I'm not talking about how to set up your own show, but not directly. But that's a for I'll leave that until more of the conversation. But I know for a fact that I personally, when I look back at people's programs I've purchased and books I've bought, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, I bought that book or I bought that program because I heard them on a podcast or I heard them on some kind of training. So podcast guesting or having your own show, but for this conversation, we're going to focus on guesting, is a really valuable and often missed opportunity because, again, it's not as immediate as quote unquote, maybe running an ad. But what I love about podcasting and being on podcast is that if you show up authentically, you have a good rapport with the host, you have a good position, angle, story, which we're going to talk about all that in a moment, and people connect with you and how you verbalize the subject at hand for the right audience, it will move the needle much faster in transitioning from listening into sales. So if I hear someone even mention a book on a podcast, if I'm really resonating with the show, the host and the guest, at the very least, I'm going to go look up the book on, let's say in this case, Amazon. I'm going to go look it up. And if I find it's something that is really being positioned as something I need to know about, chances are far greater that I'm going to buy the book. That's going to open up more doors for me to learn more about them and other things they have to offer, which could be courses, communities, and so on and so forth. So again, I know what's influenced, how podcasting has influenced my buying decisions directly from me being a consumer to people contacting me. Actually, Lisa Dalton, who's one of my mentee students, she literally said this to me. I was on the way to Southeast Asia, and actually, I was changing planes in Tokyo. And I hardly ever check direct messages on Instagram because I just, I have Instagram, but I don't really check it a lot. But she had direct messaged me on Instagram, and she lives in Scotland. And she said, I was walking my dog and I was listening to your podcast, and I want to find out more about your program. And I told her I was on the way to Thailand, and I would check with her if I got there and got landed, jet lag and all that stuff. And she signed up right away because she listened to multiple episodes of my show and she felt connected to me. So what I'm saying to you is I know from personal experience that it does work. It does work, but it does require you to do your field work as well. So again, that's why I wanted to, you don't have to have your own show. I wouldn't recommend even starting your own show unless you're committed to doing it for at least a year. So, but this is not what this conversation is about today. This is being on someone else's show. So with that being said, I would ask you both, or I'm not sure who else is still here because I can't see. Well, actually, I collapsed the window. Maybe more people have come in. But I would say that, oh, Christine, hey, Christine, no, she was, thanks for coming, Christine. She was on a podcast recently. But what I will say is, um, being on someone else's show can open up doors. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about that, and now that I know you're here, Christine, I know you were on a podcast recently. Really briefly, could you share what your experience was and how it impacted some of your sales results?
Yeah, so before I apologize for being late.
No, 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 that's fine. You're fine.
Yeah. I I actually got the opportunity from a vendor event that I was at, and this lady does podcasts, and she invited me to talk about my first activity book that I had created. I was absolutely nervous, almost tried to back out of it, but I'm
Mhm,
so glad I did not because I did it. I quite enjoyed it,
mhm,
and from it. I noticed, and I didn't notice it right away, but I mentioned telling Rodney that from it, I noticed I was getting sales.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and so even though I was nervous, it's my
mhm,
first time doing it. I'm so glad that I stepped out of my comfort zone. It wasn't perfect. I
mhm.
want to get an Academy Award for it, but I'm so glad that I stepped out of my comfort zone and did it because I learned that I can do it.
Yes,
I learned that I can get better the more I do it. And it was a good learning experience, but it also put me out there,
yes,
which I wouldn't have done and I wouldn't have experienced if I had chickened out.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it can be nerve-wracking, especially when it's video. Like I said, for years I avoided video like the plague, and now I don't, it's like it's what I do now. But the point I want to make, and almost I'll add this one last piece onto that. Every podcast that you could be on will not always be video. There's still a lot of people out there that are doing podcasts that are audio only. They're not always going to be video and audio. I'm just saying that moving forward, if this is something that you're going to pursue, be prepared. And we're going to talk about getting prepared, literally getting prepared to be on camera and the importance of having that. And do have that as an option for backup because the next most important thing you're going to want to have, whether it's audio only and audio and video, is you want to make sure that you look good and sound good as far as quality goes. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Christine. So let's see. So, as I said before, we are entering a renaissance of podcasting. Every platform is now really emphasizing video. They're really emphasizing, obviously, connection is very important, conversation is very important, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth in a second. And also, humanity is very important. As all of you know who's been with me for any length of time, you know I'm always saying this all the time. I've been saying this since I started, the first, so as a coloring book creator back 4 years ago. Now the published creator is, I said, the one authors who are willing to get in front of their message have a massive advantage. Number one being because most author creators do not want, they want to be in the background. They want the book to be, in front. But people buy books from the person who wrote them. So if they don't know who you are, chances are that they're going to imagine how many different cookbooks there are just in the cookbook genre. If I were to, and there actually, when I used to live in San Francisco, there is a bookstore, and I think there's a couple of them that only sell cookbooks. So there's hundreds, if not thousands, of cookbooks in there. But if I go into that store to buy a book and say there's like 20 books on baking or whatever the case may be, chances are that I'm going to go in there looking for the book for the author that I heard on a podcast, or I saw on a YouTube channel, or they did a cooking segment on like a local TV show. I'm going to go in there looking for that book over all the other ones just because I feel a connection to the author creator, the authorpreneur. So again, it's less about actually, you will actually extract yourself from the competition of the same genre of book that you created if you are the one more willing to get to embrace the media. If you're more the one that will embrace the media, people will come looking for you. I have gone to bookstores looking for books on people that I just saw on TV or I just heard somewhere. So again, I say what I say about getting in front of your audience, getting out from behind the camera, if you will, and get in front is gonna really have a massive, and now because video is so embraced right now by the podcasting genre, that it's gonna really be invaluable to you. All right. Because at the end of the day, people just don't buy products, i.e., our books. They buy stories, they buy transformation, and they buy trust, but they buy people. And the future belongs to creators who are willing to be seen. That I know for a fact. I live it. So I know that for a fact. Okay. So podcast guesting is also authority infrastructure, meaning every appearance creates searchable expertise, meaning that depending upon how the host, what keywords and SEO they put into that appearance. And if they've got your name anywhere in the description of it and possibly in the keywords, when someone types in your name on, say, Google, for an example, there's a good possibility that your episode will show up in the search. Again, where you were interviewed on someone else's show. It develops immediate trust if it's a good interview. And again, we're going to talk about how you conduct yourself on the interview so that you don't come across as being buy my stuff kind of thing. Now I keep hearing this a lot now that ChatGPT in particular is gonna be, well, it already is. People will possibly discover you when they're typing in, and as a matter of fact, keep hearing ChatGPT is going to have an e-com element attached to it. So people can actually potentially find you or the subject of what you write about or you create a book about. And chances are that your products may come up in the search. I don't know exactly when that's rolling out, but I've been hearing that for a while. There's going to be more, they're trying to integrate more shopping experiences inside of ChatGPT in particular. The biggest opportunity that I want to definitely deep dive into tonight with you all is repurposable content. This is something that I'm really going to deep dive in tonight because this is something that's a massive missed opportunity that people who are interviewed on shows are sleeping on. And I want to leave you all tonight with this new mentality about when you get these opportunities to be a guest on someone's show, how you can leverage the opportunity and maximize your reach. Not just what the host does, but what we do as podcast guests. Obviously, it helps to establish relationships and create future opportunities. The one thing I do want to say is that one conversation can create momentum long after the recording ends. Unless that person takes that episode down, that podcast lives on those feeds forever. Forever. I mean, people can go back and listen to something that you recorded 3, 4, 5 or more years ago. You just don't know. But what I'm saying is there's many people who are guests on people's shows, leave it to the host to do all the distribution of the content. And I'm saying it's time to rethink that because they've given us an opportunity, but it becomes incumbent upon us to make sure that the time we spent doing this doesn't go fall by the wayside because no one knows it exists. We're going to talk about that. So again, most creators approach podcast guesting backwards. They ask the question, how do I get booked? But the top creators ask, how do I create long-term value from every interview? That's what I was just talking about a moment ago. We're going to talk about that. That's a massive difference. If you're focusing on where can I get booked, you're thinking about what you want. And it's fine because you do need to ask that question. But once you get the opportunity and you don't leverage it, like I said, eventually it's going to fade out and no one's going to know it's up there unless it's been properly SEO'd or what have you. Now we're going to talk about for a minute story. Story is really important because and I'll just, another word for story is your why. Why did you choose this topic? What is it about this topic that you found so interesting, provocative, enticing for you that you wanted to invest your time, your energy, your resources to create a book around it? Because we all know creating a book is not an easy thing to do. And so people buy what we do when they understand why we did it. Again, when you go on a show, you're not just talking about buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. They're going to ask you questions. Well, what were you doing before you created this? What was the inspiration behind why you created it? What was been your biggest aha moment or learning that you discovered as a result of now being a published author? What have people said to you about their experience of your work? What are the stories that you heard? What are the stories that, again, inspired you? Stories persuade, they create trust, they create emotional connection, which is really powerful because people rarely remember information, but they do remember transformation. I remember one of my students created a book that was she loved she when she came to me, she loved to cook, she loved to bake in particular, and she loved tea, like drinking tea. And she wanted to create a book that was a fusion of recipes, all based on tea. So she wanted a with recipe book with coloring pages and journal pages, and it was called Tea Time. And I love the idea from the minute she said she wanted to work with me to help her develop the book. One of my other students in another program that I had at the time bought her book immediately and said her recipe in the book for tea cakes was the exact same recipe that my grandmother used to make when I would come home from school and she would have these tea cakes waiting for us. And I remember telling Margaretha about that. And so imagine if you were again, being interviewed on a show and you relay that story. That for the listener is going to bring back memories if they had fond memories of their grandmother. I don't know for sure, but if they had fond memories, that could be that one story could be a connection point that then makes that person want to go and look up how to go find out more about that book. So I would say to all of you listening is to jot down your stories. What inspired you to do this? What were the stories that of people that maybe have read it? What have they said? And just have those stories in your back pocket. So when you are interviewed, you can talk about those things because again, everyone doesn't want to hear a pitch fest. They want to hit the human interest piece. They want to connect, especially if it's audio only and they don't get to watch you on camera. So again, that's how you create the emotional connection. All right. Now, again, most creators waste podcast opportunities before they even happen because for several things. One, they don't have clear positioning. meaning that they are basically spraying and praying. They don't really know for sure who they're pitching to. They just know it's a podcast, but it may not even be, it may not be the right audience. It may not be the right host, because that's also a possibility too. It just may not be a fit. But because it's a podcast, and also this, I want to stay on the positioning piece for just a moment. I've had more people approach me about when my show was called The Coloring. My show, before I rebranded it, was called The Coloring Book Creator. I had more people pitching me that didn't have a coloring book, was nothing about coloring books. And I was like, why are you pitching me your to be on my book when the title tells you what my show's about? So it's really important, and obviously none of you would do that, but what I'm saying is you need to do your due diligence because again, and then also too, with that being said, when you approach being on someone's show, you want to make sure that you both are aligned as far as personalities go, speaking style. Um, you want to make sure that you're aligned. And you want to make sure that the audience that listens to that show is aligned because there's no point in you doing it if it's not going to result in people wanting to know more. Okay. You want to be clear about your story. We talked about that a second ago. And then these are things that almost everyone that I've worked with just doesn't always have in place. Typically, the number one thing, and I implore you, I implore you, if you can, if you don't have, it's okay. We can fix that. But don't just send people to Amazon or Barnes Noble or whatever your book is available to go buy your book. Send them to a dedicated landing page. This is what I'm talking about in this checklist here. Capture their contact information, and then you can redirect them to Amazon or Barnes Noble or wherever. Because even if that person goes and buys your book, unless that person comes back to you, you won't know they bought it. So that lead is invaluable to you because then you get to follow up with them to find out, okay, if you haven't gone to get the book now, go over to Amazon or Barnes Noble or wherever to go get it, or they can buy it from you directly or whatever other programs or communities that you have. So you get a chance to increase your sales opportunities beyond just a single copy book sale. Because, and again, someone listening to you may be the head of an organization or a company or some kind of an
Mhm.
outfit that could book you or to bring you in, and that's a bulk sales opportunity. Now, second to that is the book also should be positioned because if someone goes and buys your book without going through you to go get it, there should be some kind of an ad, what I call an ad or a placement, prominent placement, full page placement in your book to where they can go to get into your ecosystem. So again, there should be a full page inside your book with a QR code. I'm going to assume it's print. Digital, you have a link, a clickable link, but then goes to that landing page. And if you offer something as a bonus or whatever, some kind of a giveaway that you didn't put, maybe it's a chapter that didn't go in the book that you're only going to give away digitally. That's an example of what you could do. It could be an app. It could be it could be a piece of art, an infographic. It could be a checklist. It could be an audio. It could be whatever. But the point is that you want to get them, you want to create a flywheel. So you want them to get the book if they buy the book, and then they want you to come over to your website and sign up. Or if you're directing people cold traffic, then you want them to go to that landing page and then send them to wherever else you want them to go. Next, you want a follow-up sequence. What I mean by that is you want a dedicated email sequence that's sequentially going out over a period of days that just keeps reminding people that did you get the preview copy of the book? Then there's a link in there to go to the store to go buy the book. Did you know about my school community? Did you know about my audio version of the book? Hey, I have a class coming up, a workshop. I'm going to be speaking here. I just did a podcast guest interview on such and such and such show. You can put the link to that YouTube video inside of there. So these are ways to deepen the relationship and nurture them in a way so that they will want to buy more things from you eventually if it's the right fit. Okay. The bottom line about why I said visibility, focus solely on visibility, is a wasted opportunity if you don't have infrastructure built around your business, your publishing business, in order to give you the best opportunity to increase your sales. All right. Before I go any further, I'm going to pause for a second. Does anyone have any questions? I just want to make sure that I'm taking the temperature in the room and I'm not just talking at you. Does anyone have any questions or any thoughts about anything I've said so far?
Yes,
Yes.
this is Alita.
Hey, Alita.
There have been a couple of times where people that I know became authors and they wrote a book and sounded really interesting. And then I asked them, well, where can I get it? And, I'd see these people in the same organizations and they never had any copies of the books with them. And they would just always say, well, it's on Amazon, go get it from there. And it's like, if somebody has a flippant attitude like that they never carry any of the books,
Yes.
then, you kind of wonder, well, maybe it's not a good book, or maybe it's
Yes.
not good quality. And I know some men who just said, well, I just wrote a book just to leave a legacy for my family. And it's like, well, you could have, you know, typewritten or used a Word document and
Yes.
printed it off at your local printer,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and they refuse to do any advertising at
Yes.
all.
Yes.
No
Yes.
book signings, nothing. I just did it just for my family.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then they say, well, but I want to write another book. And it's like, huh?
Yes. No, I hear that all the time. And and the thing of it is I'm in a KDP Amazon group and I see posts almost every single time in my feed of someone saying, I did all this work and no one's buying my book or only made this amount of money. And, and it is so frequent that I see it. I don't even respond really to it anymore. One day I'm actually going to approach the owner of that Facebook group and see if I can get him to interview me to be on his because I read these posts and I just go, but what are you doing? What are you saying? What are you doing to get, but many, 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 many people do. They think that because it lives on Amazon, it's just going to get found like a genie in a lamp. You're just going to rub it. It's going to just, it's just going to happen. And I'm like, it does not work like that. And even if your book is a Kindle version, a digital version of your book, you still should have physical copies of your book with you at all times. Because again, someone asks, you whip that puppy out. Like I used to in the very beginning. I would say to people, carry your book with you. And like, I know nobody hardly ever writes checks anymore for their groceries. But I would say a strategy to do is when you go to write your check for your groceries, put your book up on the counter while you're writing out your check. Because people will look at it and go, what's that about? Or, you just, and again, introduce yourself as an author. I don't care what you do. If someone asks what you do, I'm an author. That's all you say. The next logical question comes, well, what's your book? What are you author of? Then you open up the door to the conversation. They may not be a customer for you, but they may know someone who is, or they may be connected to an organization. We just don't know who we're talking to as we're going through our day-to-day life. So again, if you're not taking advantage of your just what's within 10-mile radius of your house, even 5-mile radius of your house, you're missing out. You're missing out. So anyway, anyone else have any thing they'd like to share before I keep going?
Rodney,
Yes,
hi. So when you were saying put the book up on the counter, I was thinking about I've seen some authors wearing an author t-shirt,
yes,
and that's pretty cool, you know.
yes, yes. Yep.
Mhm.
I think Arlen Hamilton did that. She had a t-shirt with a QR code on the back. And I think for her, that third book she did, not the most recent one she did. And like I said, I've seen people do wraps around their car. You know, you just have to be, I guess, if you will, if you want to call it that. I don't necessarily think of it that way, but you have to kind of be shameless. You know, it's like, you know, you're not doing anything wrong, you know, but someone might really be a right fit, and you got to tell people about it. People can't buy what they don't know exists. That's basically, you know, to land the plane. All righty, so let's get back into it. And let's see. Oh, wait a minute. What did I do here? Hey, Roxanne. Let's see. What did I do with my slides? I can't find it
Mhm.
now. Oh, did you have something you wanted to share?
No, not in
Oh,
particular.
okay. Okay. I saw you were unmuted. Okay. I'm trying to find my slides and I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me go back to share screen. Can you all see the slides or no?
No.
Okay. Let me go back to share again. I knew I did something. Zoom has changed their interface, which I just am not happy about right now. I've got to learn something new. But anyway, let me make this full screen and then we'll get right back to it. All righty. So we talked about if visibility without infrastructure becomes wasted attention, and we don't want to do that because we do a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put a book together. It's a lot of work. Why do all of that if you're not going to maximize every opportunity? Okay. All right. So, you know, oh, so anyway, I didn't realize I had done multiple slides on this. So the point is, I want to go back over. You need clear positioning, clear story, a lead capture system, which I talked about. That includes starting with the landing page, a dedicated landing page. And actually, I'm going to share some examples of some right now in a moment. A follow-up email sequence and an offer pathway. Authors offers meaning what are you selling that accompanies the book? So it could be a membership community, it could be a course, it could be an app, it could be you know, single sessions, it could be, you know, just the possibilities are endless. But do have something else to offer. The book is the entry point, can be the entry point in, but do have something else to offer. Otherwise, if you don't have anything else to offer, your income generation opportunities end at the book sale. And again, if your book is even up on Amazon already, just as an example, add some kind of, I call it self-promotion ad, if you will, in your book. Sponsor your own book. So have an ad in your book that goes to your school community. You've got a paid membership community. Have, you know, pepper that book with QR codes that go to your other resources. Because again, if someone is spending time holding that in their hand, they're going to go check out your other offers that you have, because typically it doesn't stop at just that product. There's other income generating opportunities that are available to us, but we don't do that because we don't position the book to work as our sales agent, not just our information source. So we want this to also be our sales agent. You know, so again, you want to have other complementary offers that makes the book be a part of a larger ecosystem, if you will. Okay. Because visibility, again, without infrastructure becomes wasted attention. Now, what I'm going to do actually, before I get into this, I'm going to show you all some examples. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. So I wanted to show you a few things just to kind of give you an idea of, actually, let me go back and do that again because I just messed that up and I don't want to. See, how did I do that? So I keep forgetting if I don't take away the full screen, when I go back to find it, I can't get back to it again. Okay. All right. I'll come back to that. So I'm going to go back to share my screen. I'm going to show you all just some landing pages, what I'm talking about when I say landing pages. I want to show you all some of these. And where did I put it? Here we go. Okay, there we go. All right. So these are some landing page examples. And what I mean by landing page is basically the landing page is the only thing they can do is give you their contact information or leave. There's nothing else for them to do. So you want them to be able to look at the cover of your book. You're going to pretty much give them a sample chapter. This can be done pre-publication or even after the book has been published. That you want to have something that they can get contact information, the way you can start building and nurturing that relationship with them. So this is for my book I'm working on right now called The Authorpreneur Decision. I put this together to promote that book. These are some of my, this is a testimonial for one of my clients down here at the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll pop the links in the chat, or I'll put them in the replay so you can go back and look at them. This is a landing page I did for Rosetta Wood. She's an educator she teaches children about the importance of plants and the importance of trees in particular and their impact on our environment. And so this is an illustrated book that she did, but she gave away free coloring pages. She has a little video here showing the inside of the book. And then, so this, again, really simple, nothing overly involved. This is a landing page I made for another client, Keisha Williams. She inspired by her nephew, teaching him about how to understand finance and money and financial terms. So each letter of the alphabet relates to a financial term. And so she wanted to create a book to support him. And actually, I just found out yesterday that a local teacher, I guess, got her book and is using it in the classroom. And then I turned her on to Teachers Pay Teachers. Christine actually is a part of that network too. So that could open up some other doors. But again, all roads lead to this first, and then it goes over to Amazon. Here is one from Michelle Ashley. Marsha Ashley is a art teacher in the UK, and she's also studying to get her art therapist license. And she's also very much about her faith. And we created what we call a 7-day, where we created her book called Do All Things with Kindness. And she created what's called a 7-day reset kit. So it's a 7-day devotional to connect creativity to scripture and prayer and reflection. So this is a landing page that I put together for her. And when people fill this out, they can then directly go and join her school community to learn more about what she's got going on. Then here is Nicole McCain. I helped her develop her book called The AI-Powered 1-Hour Workday. So we set this page up for her. And then she's offering other programs and certification programs and courses to help people with learning AI. So these are just a few of the clients I'm working with. I'm also working with Alita right now, and we're working on her landing page and getting everything set up. So that'll be coming out really soon. And again, so this is the thing this is my core of what I always talk about, because I know how valuable it really is. And it's a wasted opportunity that many of us don't take advantage of because we just don't know to do it. Also, too, I just wanted to show you this page. If you're inside of my school community, if you go to the classroom section and go to Creator Member Wins, these are all the authors that I have helped so far. And actually, there's more. I need to add them on here that I interviewed for my podcast. So again, I host my own podcast. I know what needs to happen to make a good interview. So these are all the episodes that I've recorded. So if you want to take a listen to any of those, just go over to the school community, go over to the classroom right here, scroll down to let's see, I think it's Start Here, and then go over to Creator Member Wins. And all of these are direct links to interviews. So for an example, Rosetta, who I just mentioned a moment ago, let's see if I can find hers really quick. This is a link to her episode of the podcast that I did. Now, I'm sharing with you the audio version of it. Sometimes someone I interview they just don't want to do video, which I respect. So if they want to do audio only, that's what I do. This is one from, let's see, I think this is Keisha's right here. Yeah, this is Keisha's interview. So again, if you want to go check out those interviews, please, feel free to go do that. But again, I'm only saying to you what I live and breathe and do pretty much every day. One last thing too, I wanted to show you all too was how you can repurpose this content beyond just the audio or the video interview. Now, this is she's not a client, she's a colleague of mine, but I interviewed her. She was talking about international book sales, Michelle Vandepass, and I interviewed her for my podcast. And what I did was, this is an example of repurposing, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I want to show you this really quickly. This is a tool that I love called Hazing. It's an automated flip book tool. And what it does is if you hear it, I'm sure you can hear this or not, but when you click on the little arrow here, you can hear a page flip. And what I do is that I took excerpts from the interview I did with her and I branded this inside of Canva. And I just did excerpts from our talking points from our conversation that we had together. So I just like 6 points. But this is an example. The podcast host is not going to do this, but you can do this. And this is another way to distribute your content because and when I show you the end of this, oh, go back. Sorry, go back one. Oh, sorry, it's flipping for me too fast. Okay, let me get the arrow resume. I embedded inside of this digital document our interview. So you can watch the video on YouTube inside this document, or you can listen to it on your podcast player, which would be iTunes or Spotify or whatever. But being able to redistribute your content in this way gives another layer in which people can then connect with you, which then leads them over to where they can go learn more about you. Because on the last page of this, I have a link to basically, I created an action guide based on the points we talked about in the conversation. And then there are clickable links in this document that go over, in this case, this goes over to Michelle's landing page. Oh, I think, well, I got to update that. I guess you took it down. Um, One thing I will say about this, though, too, since we're talking about this, if you do this, make sure that you keep the links up because if you take them down, people might find dead links. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that really quickly. This is a way to repurpose your content in a different way, in a different experience, I like to call it. So anyway, this is a tool called Hazing. I love it. For some people who are giving away a chapter of their book, they may not always want to have a PDF that someone can download. They want to kind of contain it. The thing I like about the Hazing tool is that it's not printable. But again, not everyone wants this. And again, I like it more when it's more interactive like this, where I've got more video and audio and things going on because it's got so many, great features to it. So I just wanted to show you all that. Okay. So let's see, let's hop back over to the Prez. And then I want to talk about the shopping or setting up your studio. As I said a moment ago, looking and sounding credible really matters. The things that are non-negotiables, you must have good audio. You must have good audio. And you've got to have, and I will say audio is even more valuable than video. Because if people can't hear what you're saying, it doesn't matter if the video is all crisp and well lit. If they can't hear you, they're gone. So you need to have, at the very least, you need to have a good microphone. You need to have good lighting. Natural light can be a window light if you have that available to you. Just make sure that the light isn't facing you, not behind you. Otherwise, you look like a ghost kind of floating in the ether. A good camera. Headphones are optional. I don't have headphones. I don't use headphones. But what I did do for you all was I created a shopping list. And again, some of you may not, and again, I only pulled this together because it's where I got these resources from. This is an Amazon list. Feel free to go look other places if you don't want to do Amazon, which I completely respect, but I do want to show you all this. So I curated what I call a podcast studio shopping list. Basically, the microphone that you see here is the Audio Technica ATR microphone. This is exactly the one I'm speaking with you on with right now. I bought this, like I said, several years ago. And the other thing that I got was this set of microphone covers. Actually, I'll move my mic closer to my mouth. What happens, you want something like that to absorb when you it's a pop filter. So when you say words with P, you don't get that. It makes a popping sound. So this cover helps to reduce that or eliminate that entirely. So I recommend if you are going to get this microphone to also make sure you get the microphone covers as well. The next thing is a light. This is the actual light I'm using right now. It's called a Zoom. It's on a stand and it's got a little bit of a filter on it where it can kind of soften the light a little bit, what they call softbox. It's not a full-fledged softbox, but it's kind of got the effect of it. And if you notice that when I make the screen bigger, I can hook my phone on the stand. So this is actually the light I'm using right now. I just don't have my phone inside the stand. So I wanted to show you that. Okay. Let's see what else. Oh, this is something that I just discovered. This is a circular polarizer. What I've been struggling with as of late, and I've been noticing it more, not of late, I've been struggling with it for years. I just didn't know what to do about it, is I've been getting glare on my glasses when I'm doing the shows, which is driving me crazy because all I see like an alien, like you can't see my see my eyes. So I just discovered this polarizing lens filter that I can actually put over my camera. So I'm actually going to order this for myself. Um, and try that to see if I can reduce some of the glare or the reflection on my glasses. It's only like $10. And again, I just discovered it recently. And it can fit over your phone as well as over your desktop camera. Now, the other camera that I use, or my camera that I use, is the Logitech C920. This is a camera I'm using right now. It's a high definition camera, and I can clip that polarizing filter over this, which again, because where I'm getting the most glare is coming from the computer screen to my glasses. I've moved the light up enough where I'm not getting the direct light hitting my glasses. But again, I'll report back to you how that's actually working. Let's see what else. The next thing is if you're going to be doing interviews on location, I recommend having a wireless mic, and you definitely want to have like this little puffer over it because it acts the same way as this little what I call the sock. It reduces the p and the p sounds when you're talking. So definitely have that. This is wireless. It connects to your phone and will allow you to be able to have really crisp sound when you're out and about, especially if you're outdoors and it's windy. This little puffer ball thing will help to reduce that wind sound. So this is something to consider having. And then the last thing I added in here, which many of you have been following me at the time know I love this book. So this book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Again, I recommend this book because I believe so strongly in when you are trying to find opportunities, instead of asking, how do you do this? You ask, who can help me do this? You're asking, whose show can I be on? Who can I collab with? Not how. I am giving you the how. You need to get your mindset right about who, because when you get that right, then you can start noticing who when the who shows up and then how to approach them. So this is something I just added because I love this book so much. I recommend it to everyone. Who Not How. And I will share this sellers list. Actually, matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll pop it in the chat now so you all have it. Again, if you don't support Amazon, I completely respect, but I didn't have anything else really to that had everything, and pretty much everything I have in my studio actually I bought on Amazon. So um yes, you do, Christine, you do get a copy of the session. You sure do. All right, so let's see here. Let me go back over to anyone have any questions about the list? If not, I'll keep going. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So, as I said a moment ago, podcast guesting is about relationship building, trust building, authority, revenue building. And again, that all starts with having good quality sound. Now, let's see, I think I might have put the slides in twice on this one. No, yeah, I'm sorry. Let me skip through. I put two slides in twice. Okay. Am I? Let me go back and see. I think I might have gone back in my slides. So I'm looking at the same slides again that I already showed. Maybe I had them in here twice. Yeah, I've already done all that. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so we talked about the shopping list. Okay, then let's move into looking and sounding credible matters. We talked about removing friction, increasing trust, and elevating authority, and having high quality recordings will make it easier to repurpose and repackage what you do. Now, this is something I want to talk about here really briefly. Not every podcast out there is worth pursuing. Like I said, there are some shows where they don't publish on a regular basis. It's inconsistent with their publishing, or they don't do interviews. The host is not, you're not aligned. So again, even if it's a subject that's perfect for your topic and what you do, it still may not be worth pursuing, especially if they don't have those key things in place. And one of the things I again would look at is how frequently do they publish? Do they do guest interviews? If you go and listen to some of the episodes and they're all solo episodes and you can't find any ones where they're interviewing someone, it's probably not going to be a good fit. And obviously, if the person is not aligned with you and your personalities are not aligned. Okay. So again, you want now also too, this is something, this is going to tie into the bonus strategy I'm going to give you at the end. When you listen to shows, and if they offer, and they should be doing this, they should be offering you a way to get into their ecosystem. What I mean by that is they should be offering you a way to get on their email list. Omar El who is a major podcaster here in Vegas, where I live, he is always on every episode that he does. He offers something that I can go opt in for. In his case, he offers a shopping list of the things, the equipment that you need to do a podcast. And he offers that like he'll like break up the interview and then insert his own commercial in there. So I will go over there and I'll click on the QR code because it's always video, and I'll click on that and I'll get on his email list. If they don't have an email list, if they don't actively pursue something like that, I would give that a second look before I would get on their show. And this is going to tie directly into this bonus strategy I'm going to give you all in a moment. Do they, next thing you want to really look at, this is probably the most important slide in this whole deck. Do they actually actively promote the people that they have on their show? There's been several people's podcasts that I've listened to, mainly on YouTube, where they will interview someone and they don't have any links in the description to that guest site. And it's so frustrating to me because I'm like, well, you interviewed this person gave you their time. You have no link in your description to where I can go learn more about that person. So I have to go and find out about the person that they just interviewed because there's no links to that person in the interview. Honestly, to be blunt, is rude. But that's me. So so if you don't see where that they don't have an active email list where they're promoting, they don't put any links to their guests if they even have guests. And also to notice if the show is getting engagement. Like, are people clicking on it? Are they liking it? Is there engagement happening? It doesn't have to be massive engagement, but it does need to be some engagement. Because otherwise it could be nice and you can repurpose it on the back end, but it may not necessarily, you're not getting enough listenership to make it worth your while for you. Again, well, I shouldn't say not worth your while. I think all of it can be valuable if you align with the host. So again, warning signs is inconsistent publishing, little to no audience engagement, and definitely no visible ecosystem. So if they're not promoting you or themselves, it's not a good fit. Okay. Now I'm going to go into now you've all been with me on my entrepreneur monetization mapping calls. I talk about the 4 questions every entrepreneur should ask before pursuing podcast guest opportunities. I talked about this map that I've shown you all. Now you've all seen this map. Now I actually as I was creating this today, I said I'm going to apply this map to where you find opportunities for yourself to be on someone's show. Obviously, you're never going to be on someone's show just talking about yourself from the perspective of buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Okay. You do want to, though, know and be clear about your expertise and the topics and the problems that you solve, because being clear about that or the opportunities that you create because that's what's going to be the magnet that's going to attract you and the podcaster. So I know that Sanja has a book about AI for people who are kingdom entrepreneurs. All right. Now, someone, and she basically helps to because I know that is for many people, that's a strong subject. Many people who are people of faith, who are, Christian faith, some, not all, have an issue around AI. They don't like it. They don't agree with it. So obviously, if that's what your book is about and that's what you talk about, you're obviously not going to want to be, or maybe you do want to be on a show where the host is very contrarian about it. And perhaps it could be more of a debate about the topic of it. But if it's really like that person is just not having it, they're not want to have a talk about it, then that may not be the show that you want to be on. But you definitely want to stand into your natural expertise. You definitely want to stay in that. You don't want to adjust that because of a show that you might want to be on or think might be a good fit for you or whatever, because it just may not be. They may have all the other criteria, but if you aren't aligned, it's not going to be a good fit. So you want to be really clear because, again, you're not coming on just talking about your book. You're talking about the things that you do to help people as to why you wrote the book. Okay. Moving on to number two, the impact and audience. Is this audience aligned with what you talk about? One of the things that I would look for at shows I might want to be on is there any other interviews that they've done with someone else that may have a contradictory or contrarian viewpoint on my viewpoint? Or can it be something that I can add on to what was said? Like this person said this, and this, but they forgot that, and that. One thing this is why these 2 points here are very important. If someone that is what you could construe as your competition, if you will, and they've come on the show and they've said this, and this, and you go, but yeah, but he didn't talk about that, and they didn't talk about this, and they didn't talk about that. You can then, when you pitch yourself to the show, you can say, hey, I just listened to episode number blah, 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 blah with this person's name. And I noticed when I listened, as I was listening, great interview, by the way, that they brought up some really good points, but there were some other things that I felt was really important for your audience to really know about. Notice what I just said and how I said it. There were some other points that I feel your audience should know about, not what I want to say, but that because what you're demonstrating in that is that you are looking out for that podcaster's audience. That automatically opens the door to, well, what other things? And then when you both have your preliminary, and I would not do any interview with anyone unless you do a pre-interview interview. So you two get together on Zoom or what have you, and make sure you both are aligned. Okay. But once you do that, it's going to then streamline what the topic's going to be about, the talking points are going to be about, and making sure that you are in service of the audience, his or her audience, not what you want, not even what the podcaster wants, but what the audience that podcaster is creating or has developed. Okay. Sandra, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I was laughing because I was invited one time to speak on a podcast, and it was about my cancer journey. And
Hmm.
so whenever I speak, I always talk about faith and flipping things. If chemo is supposed to be bad, how can we change that word to share it to be a praise unto God? Because I write in acrostic. So this person was very interested in having me. But the name of the podcast was A Patient from Hell. And I know what they meant, because you have to fight for yourself, right?
Right.
So, but it took me a while. I kept saying, ah. I don't know because it just did not resonate with me. So I had to
Hmm.
completely turn that down because there was
Hmm.
no I couldn't make it work. Let's just put it this way. Even though I know what they meant in terms of speaking up for yourself, but hell and what I talked about, it didn't work for me at
It
all.
wasn't right. Yes, yes, yes. And see, and that's the thing. And I want to stay with this for just a second. There are some services, AI generated services out there that I've looked into that can basically AI tools that can basically research shows for you and send out pitches for you. I've not tested them to see if they're actually any good, but what I am concerned about with that is just because the verbiage in your pitch and the topic and the SEO and all that stuff is aligned, doesn't mean again that's a good show for you to be on. Yes, it's more work to listen to, you don't have to listen to hours of episodes. You just have to know when you listen to someone's show that you might want to. I think they're good for I think those tools are good for sussing out opportunities, but you still have to do your due diligence and listen to the person. Again, their voice, their tone, their cadence. Like I said, are they a good interviewer? You know, are people commenting on their post? You want to make sure that you are aligned because what you don't want to feel is that you're ambushed being on someone else's show because some people can be that way, you know. And you don't want to feel, but again, it depends upon your personality. There's some folks out there that they love to mix it up. It's like going bring it. I'm all in for it. You know, let's do this. So, you know, and that's fine too if that's your personality. But if it's not, you want to make sure that you're aligning yourself with people who are aligned with what your message and how you show up. So thank you for sharing that, Sandra. So then this goes right into number three is strategic connection. Is there a connection? Is there an idea on for your topic that was not introduced before that that host can lob onto and go, my audience would really, really want to hear more about that. The tip I'll give you all, this is a writer downer. Whenever we approach someone, whether it's online or in person, and we want to do a collaboration with, the question we should be asking ourselves is how can I help this person look better to their audience? How can I help them be of service to their audience? When we approach it from that perspective, because we know what we bring to the table, but if we can help them, because sometimes we have to spell that out for people. And when we do that, they first of all know we did our due diligence by researching them, looking them up, not doing this same email template that goes out to 1,000 people and then hoping that one or two of them take you up on it. And then they do it, and then it's a horrible interview or it doesn't go anywhere, you know. So anyway, so having that strategic connection is really important. And then of course, number four is purpose and urgency. So where can they continue the conversation with you beyond what happened on the show? And in this case, it is your book. Now your book is positioned as the next logical step. They've already had the experience with you, but now the book is the souvenir they get to take away with them as a memento of their experience with you being on that show. So, and again, the guest, the host must say, Alita, how can we learn more about you? And I know you've authored a book. Sonja, where can we learn more about you? I know you're the author of a book. Christine, you know, that's that you want that host to ask that question. Because if they don't, then it's like, okay, then you've got to slide it in, so to speak. So they should be asking you that question. Where can I learn more? Where can they learn more? And again, there's ways to pepper it in when you're talking points. You know, that's why I wrote the book. In chapter such and such and such of my book, you can pepper it in gently in the conversation. Because again, people are listening to that. They're jotting it down. And again, if I'm on the go and I don't have time to listen to the whole interview, I'm going to look at those show notes. And if I don't see a link to go to that guest uh, infrastructure, then it's not a good show to be on. Because I may come back and listen to it later on, but I want to go check out your book and check out what you got going on. So anyway, you want to make sure that you have that. So that's the way to apply what I've been working with you all on the monetization mapping session, how you can apply this same thing to how you suss out shows you might want to be on. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah. Anybody? If no, I'll move on. Okay.
Um,
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a comment.
Yes.
And it's basically what you're presenting here. Um, as we're going on these shows, using graphical things such as this infographic to
Mhm.
represent your book while you speak.
Mhm.
Because as you're speaking, I'm able to look and really hone in on some key points. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to bring that up in terms of it's great to have that verbal conversation, but even
Mhm.
an image would be great if it's appropriate.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And like I said, you have to, see if the host allows for that. But if you can, and I know, you do extremely well with creating graphics. Sandra makes beautiful graphics with AI. And so this is something that I created using Notebook LM is what I use for that one. So that always, again, you're gonna have to find out if this is gonna be applicable for you when you're researching what show you want to be on. But again, if you can show that, again, and this could be something that if that host, okay, so let's take advantage of an opportunity here. If you were to share that in your pitch with the host, and let's say it's a video based show like what we're doing right now, okay, and they do that, the people watching that would go, "Ooh, I want to get a copy of that." Well, guess what? You've now created a lead magnet because they can go opt in to get this, in addition to the sample chapter of your book, whatever else you want to do. So thank you for bringing that up, Sanjay. That's a great way to combine visuals with what or it could be a video. It could be a video as well. So if there's another video you have up on YouTube, that actually, I know the video can live on a YouTube channel, but that video can be an opt-in. You can make people opt in to go get that video, is what I'm saying. So don't limit it to it has to be a chapter of a book or something like that. Okay. All righty. All righty. So again, I already talked about this. Most creators realize at this point they don't have an infrastructure in place. And I'm going to say infrastructure in regards to distribution. But I'll talk about that more in a moment. Again, you can get booked on podcast all day, but if visibility without infrastructure, it becomes a wasted opportunity. Now, after the recording, this is the number one thing that I want to show you. This is probably one of the more important slides in this presentation. What do you need to do to distribute your content? What things can you do to distribute the content? What you can do, as we can do as guests, not just what the host can do, because I can tell you right now, most people rely on the host to do all the distribution of the content. That's a wasted opportunity. That's a wasted opportunity. So this is some ways that you can then distribute that content yourself. I call this the one interview multiplier. How you can do a screenshot of this if you like, how you can take that interview that you were just the guest on and repurpose the content yourself, not relying on the host to do it, because they may or may not. And even if they do, you still should do it already anyway. All righty. So obviously, number one is your podcast experience appearance. Okay, that's the first step because you've done it. Now, assuming that it's video, let's just say it's video, that's already going to be up on YouTube. Now, step number two is short clips. There is a tool called Opus Clips, and I have an affiliate link for that. If you want to check it out, I'll give it to you. Um, you can take the URL from that interview that's on YouTube. You can take that interview, just the URL where it lives on YouTube, and you can drop that into your own Opus Clips account. I believe that's 100. I'm not 1,000% accurate about that, but I'm almost positive it is. And it will chop up the video for you. So all you need is a URL. You don't need the person to give you the interview. I don't believe. Now I have to double check that to make sure about that. But but it will automatically chop up the video, and also add on captions. It'll give you those vertical videos. Yes, Christine.
So you're talking about the actual podcast interview,
Uh-huh.
but that this might sound naive, but that interview doesn't belong to the people that interviewed.
Yeah, no, like I said, I want because I reason why I'm only saying this is because I just interviewed someone, Rahisa Silva. I just interviewed her, and she actually asked me for the URL for the where the YouTube video lived. And she
Okay.
had her own Opus Clips account. I did have to give her permission.
Yeah.
I did have to
Okay.
give her permission. And then Opus Clips chopped up the video. Now, what I'm going to say, all you have to do is ask the host, says, listen, I'm going to actually repurpose this video and I'm going to make sure clips out of it. And I'll even share the clips with you. If you say it like that, because it's all automated, why would they say no? Unless they already have their own system. Okay. But those short clips is what you can post on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts. And it automatically adds the captions and everything in it automatically. And all you need is just the URL for the actual YouTube video. Sandra, you had your hand up?
Yes. So one, it does work. I have used Opus Clips
Mm-hmm.
for just regular YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
that I might have been tested. But this is something it seems like it would be great to negotiate up front
Mm-hmm.
when you finish when you're having a conversation with a host.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they may supply it already. For an example, Rahisa, who I interviewed on my show, she asked me before we interviewed. She said, and you're right, we discussed it before the interview. I always do a preliminary pre-interview before we do the interview. So we both make sure we're both aligned. But she asked me, she said, because she wanted to chop them up even further. And I had to give her permission to do that. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to download the video on your computer. You can just put the URL inside of Opus Clips and it'll automatically chop it up for you. It's not always perfect, but it beats and saves a bunch of time and having to do it manually. Okay. Now, the other thing that I do is number three is I take the transcript from the video interview and I run that through ChatGPT and I said, now again, I've trained my GPT to understand my voice, my tone, my style, my cadence. So I'm like, it needs to sound like me. And I'll have it draft me an article that I will publish on LinkedIn as my newsletter. I'm going to be soon getting more involved with what is that other one called now? Substack. So again, because I can just take that audio, take that transcript, and have it repurposed as an article. If you have a blog, you can put it on a blog. So that's another way. I'm not saying you got to do all of these things. I'm just saying that these are some ways you can redistribute that content. If you have a newsletter, that's another option. You can break that up and put sound bites in a newsletter if you wish, or make them into posts that you put on social, text-based post. I recommend having audio, video, and text to hit all the different learning modalities. Um, they have authority articles. I guess I could say, well, I would say my newsletter for my LinkedIn is what I would call an authority article. And then my LinkedIn content could be either video or short post extracted from the longer text. So let's say if I automatically have it write an article for my newsletter, I can then say, okay, now extract some short points that I can use for just post that I might want to put on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn. I'm not saying you have to be on LinkedIn. I'm saying that wherever you already are on social media, this could be the ways that you could repurpose it. Now, the next thing is number six is lead generation. Please, please, please make sure that you have a landing page set up and that you have a link in your content that gets people over to go sign up for your email list. All right. Now, another thing that you could do with that longer form article, if you want to, you can make that a lead magnet, or you can take that and turn that into like an infographic, like what I showed you a moment ago. There's ways to do that. There's ways to do that. The next one, number seven, is offers. Offers is where the money is from. Offers can be the book combined with your membership to your school community. It could be your book combined with a course. It could be your book combined with a coaching call or multiple coaching sessions. It could be a live workshop experience. It could be an app bundled with something else. It could be an audio version of the book as well as a written version of your book. It could be the digital version of the book, the audio version of the book, and the print version of the book. There's all kinds of ways to bundle what you do, but do make offers outside of just single copy book sales. That's where your money comes in. That's what goes to number 8, revenue. Okay. So again, most people who are guests on people's shows don't do any of this. They rely on the host to do all the heavy lifting and then the show just fades out to nothing. But if that video is still up there on, let's say, YouTube in this context, you now with AI can repurpose that content multiple ways. And that host is going to love you for, well, they should love you for it because basically you're doing their work, but it's also benefiting you. It's benefiting you. Okay. So this is something that's definitely worth screenshotting and just having in your memory bank for moving forward. Okay. Any questions before I move on? Okay. All right. So this ties into what I talked about at the top of the call, the podcast guesting sales amplifier. I just learned this actually last night. I loved it immediately and I had to share it. So all of us have been talking about is getting on podcast and, because you're all authors and selling more of your books. So this particular gentleman shared something that I really, really thought was just brilliant. I had never thought about it that way. I'm real big about collaborating. I love collaborating with other businesses because it's a great way to get the message out there without me having to always pay for it via ads on Facebook in this example. Now, typically what happens in a podcast guesting experience for authors is that we will go on someone's show and we will do our interview and we'll talk about where someone could go buy our book. And then we go off and back into our world to go get on the next show. But this strategy I learned, which I thought was brilliant, was that you partner with the podcast host and let them actually pitch and sell your book on a regular basis. Now, let's say that I'm going to use Alita for this example, because Alita's book is called Indiana Avenue, and it's about the jazz movement that's happened. This didn't happen during that era, and what's happening now with jazz now, and preserving that history that many people may not know about. And we're working to align her with other podcast hosts where she can come on and talk about the book and talk about the subject matter of the book. And depending upon the show and the host and how they, if do they produce regular content? Are they active in producing content? Is this going to be a good fit for a long-term opportunity? And what the strategy is this. So Alita comes on, she does the interview. It's a great interview. She talks about the book, where people can go get it, and then that's done. But now, because she's developed a relationship with the host of that show that is around the subject matter, not just, around the subject matter of the book, that host can now promote that book on a regular basis as a part of his programming. So what I mean by that is podcast hosts who are really elevating their level of I can't think of the word right now I want to say, but they're basically understanding that they have a platform that is getting attention of audience and they are trying to monetize because all podcast hosts want to monetize. And what could happen is a deal could be struck where they essentially, even after Alita's done the interview, they could be basically putting in a spot in their podcast, either front row, pre-roll, or mid-roll, talking about the topic of Alita's book because it ties into the subject of the type of the show it is. So basically, they can record their own sort of commercial, if you will, basically pitching Alita's book, and a link could be placed in that commercial where they can go buy the book. And the book could be, again, there's many ways that we can handle that. But the point I want to make is that they're pitching the book, they're generating sales for the book, and then Alita and the podcast host can then split the revenue from the sales of the book. But again, because if promoting this product ties in with the subject of their show and continues to make them look good to their audience, they now have an opportunity to generate income long after the interview is over. Because they can continue then basically like plugging it, pushing it in. And again, if it's generating income, now there's criteria has to be looked at with that. It's got to be someone that's got an active audience. They've got to be really engaged and someone that hosts, that the people really listen to them. I would say after the interview is over, you need to check and see, okay, did sales actually happen? Is there really a synergy there? Are people like with Christine, she noticed that sales went up after she did the interview. So I wouldn't pitch this maybe on the front end, but I would see what happened after the show went live. If you're noticing a pitch in sales coming up, you could then create like a partnership arrangement where that host could pitch your book as a regular segment in his or her show. And the sales could come in where you just do like I said, a 40/60 or 50/50 rev share split. And you don't have to do anything but just let them just keep they can record the commercial once, put it in their show, and keep on with whatever they're doing. And then you've got a little sales agent out there working for you all the time. And all you have to do is just then structure your system on the back end to ship the books out. Now that can be done through Amazon and or Lulu. So you're not having to handle the processing of the orders, but you're collecting the money and then you're paying out the host. You're paying out the host for basically the host is an affiliate for you. So again, it's something to definitely worth looking into. When I heard it, I went, oh, I never thought about that. And I just wanted to share it because I thought this could be, again, it has to be aligned. You both have to be aligned, but if it's the right fit, it could be a great way. Because again, what I do know is that every single person doing a podcast, they're doing because they want to make money. And again, it could start with the book, but it also could be where maybe there's a workshop, an online course or something that you do that accompanies the book, and they could be the one doing the pitching and bringing in the students for you. So you're able to generate income that way, and all you got to do is pay them out an affiliate commission. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Actually, I still do interviews with people. I'm starting up again, and the way that I have been connecting my
Let me stop the share for
my
just.
cooking. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine. I just want
Oh,
to
my
stop the share.
cooking with this program that I have, the support group program that I have for women.
Mhm.
I've been making like videos. I still have some I have to put up. I just started doing this in the last couple of weeks as far as like uh incorporating the videos with the program.
Mhm.
And like my next interview, well, at least one of my next two interviews is going to be with a guy who makes spice blends.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to interview him. And
Mhm.
so I've been kind of going back and forth with AI, trying to wrap my mind around how to introduce this male voice into my community. But I was thinking about it wrong at first. Now I'm thinking like it's a good thing to have him there in a sense of um, being an example of having somebody there in a safe, boundaried, healthy way, and, he's doing something that they could possibly be doing themselves because
Mhm.
a lot of women in these situations are financially abused. So
Mhm.
they're looking for something they can do on the side
Mhm.
or something until they can, calm their systems,
Mhm.
get into a healing flow,
Mhm.
get into something that, I lived all this, so I'm kind of thinking back to what I had to go through. And
Mhm.
so I want to prepare these women before I help them through the program because
Right.
even my mentor told me, like after the fact, she was like, I think I'm going to do this starter program because I feel like I threw you guys into this big program before you were really ready for it.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm doing now is doing, doing things to help people get regulated before they start the program and doing things with people that show good, healthy relationships,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who it is, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing
Mm-hmm.
that they can possibly do these things as well,
Mm-hmm.
making meals. I remember those times when I was so stressed out and so over it that it was hard to cook.
Mm-hmm.
So showing them really quick things that I could make, like the avocado toast I made yesterday,
Yes.
film me making just some basic oatmeal that you don't have to cook on the stove.
Right.
Just stuff like that,
Yeah.
something that you can um, cook right away and just showing up just with regular life and with
Yeah.
events and things that I do
Yeah.
as I've gone on this journey and healed from some things.
Yes.
I want them to know that they can do it too, because there were times when I felt like I couldn't, So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so with that, and listening to what you're saying, I totally was working on a letter that I would send him today
Mm-hmm.
is kind of help him understand how I run my community
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just to be aware of the mental state
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
emotional state that a lot of these women
Mm-hmm.
will
Mm-hmm.
be in when they come in or when they find my channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he'll be fine with it. He's a cool guy I
Yeah.
met on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. He lives in the same city as me. Um, and we've been kind of talking back and forth to try to get to know each other a little better.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I feel like we do align in that way. It's like I love interviewing people who have small businesses
Yes.
and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
don't know if I'm answering a question or what but that's kind of what I'm doing.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
Yeah,
I got
yeah. So
you. Yeah. No. I
thank
again,
you,
it's one of
Alina.
those things where we really this. Okay. I'm gonna just land the plane with this because I love to say it all the time. So many of us do these interviews when they happen and it doesn't go anywhere. And again, that's content that's out there that if more people saw it and engaged with it, it would increase your exposure, your visibility. But the visibility has to also come with a purpose behind it. And
Mhm.
so by being able to take more of a controlling position in it, then and again, you're always looking for the win-win. What can we collab, like you and this gentleman, what can we collab together to help both of us to help the
Mhm.
audience that you both are trying to serve?
Right. Yeah.
When you ask that question, as I said earlier about that book, the who shows up. And then you both discuss the how you go, excuse me, how you're going to do it. So
Mhm.
I'm getting a coughing thing. Keep talking.
Okay.
Alita, did you have anything you wanted to share about that? I'm gonna mute myself for a second, get some water
Okay.
because I'm getting ready to choke.
No, thank you, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to support each other and we need to lift other women up. who are less fortunate than ourselves. And, after the pandemic, if we can't help other people, then we've got problems ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. After I graduated from the program myself, um, I told her that I would, the way she put it, reach back and bring other women through the program.
Mhm.
I don't know how many women will come through, but I feel like if it's just one, I've done,
Hmm.
a big part of my part. I still want to, I wanna push like this program a lot in this quarter is what I've been doing.
Hmm.
And then after this quarter, I won't like throw it away or anything. It'll just be another one of my offers that I have,
Hmm.
that's inside of Roxy's Kitchen, Roxy's Healing Kitchen. And because I do catering, for a camp right now, and making lunch for the kids and
Hmm.
making food for an event coming up now.
Hmm.
But it's like I don't want it, I don't want that to be the main thing with my kitchen,
Hmm.
but it's one of the things that I offer because I've been through this program and because I love cooking so much, I just felt like I knew I couldn't like just do one or the other. Like
Yeah,
Right,
it
right,
got to
yeah,
where I
right.
had to meld them together somehow because it was driving me insane because I made this
yeah.
promise and I wanted to keep it. And it's been a few years since I've actually graduated from the program. There was always something that felt like it stopped me from pushing forward with this. So now that I realize that I can combine the two, um, I feel a lot of weight off my shoulders. I feel less stressed, and I
Hmm.
feel like I'm doing my purpose without guilt, and
Yes, yes.
just doing the thing.
That's
And,
great.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank
Yeah.
I
thank
love
you.
that. I love that. I love that. So, yeah, so, like I say, it's just, this, at the end of the day, I created this because I just know as I have it being my host of my own show, and having people approach me about wanting to be on my show. And now as I'm heading to Atlanta in early July to go to a big podcasting conference because I know I see what's happening, and there's massive opportunities out there for us, but we need to be more entrepreneurial minded about it and not passive about it. And again, as I've always said with marketing, you're going to pay one or two ways with sweat or cash. So if you're going to be out here anyway, why not go for the full, just go all the way in? And like I said at the beginning of the presentation, podcast guesting and authorship go together like peanut butter and chocolate. They just go well together. So why not maximize all of the effort that we've put into creating our work? And that's why I want to create, this presentation. So I only got, I think, one or two slides left, and then I'll wrap it up for you because I want to respect you all's time. And first, I want to say thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it a lot. Seriously, I really appreciate it because I know, you got other things you could be doing and you decided to hang out and spend some time with me. So I'm really grateful for that. So anyway, I guess to wrap it up, let me go back to full screen. And I wanted, as I promised, I wanted to show you what was next. So, oh, well, the one last thing is we already talked about just in this conversation just now. One conversation can change everything. One conversation can lead to more conversations, more audience, and yes, more income. The creators who win won't simply create products, they'll build authority ecosystems. So I recommend that you start today, okay, by getting your foundation set. So to help with that, I created this actually a few years ago, actually. It's called the Podcast Guesting Readiness Checklist. And actually, what I'll do is I'll show you the inside of it really quick. I'm giving you all a copy of this tonight. Let's see if I can find it really fast and I'll show it to you. Let's see here. Where did it go? Okay. So if you all can see this. So this is the checklist. And again, I'm going to grab the link and I'll pop it in the chat. And basically what it is something I started before I actually started my last show. And really, it's just a series of questions that you ask yourself. Are you clear and confident in yourself and what you'll bring to the host? Do you have something valuable to share with the podcaster's audience who will be interviewing you? Are you clear on the problem or issues the podcast host audience is struggling with that you're qualified to speak on? Have you crafted a compelling and well thought out hook that will capture podcast host attention? I'm not going to read all of these, but this is basically the qualifying questions you need to ask yourself as you are looking to move forward with, if you decide to pursue moving forward with getting active and being on more shows. As I said when I first created this, that getting prepped, if you what is it, how does it go? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready or whatever. So this is something that I know, having interviewed many people myself and being on other people's shows, is that you want to have things in place. Like, for an example, you want to be clear on the subject matter. You want to be clear about the audience and the topic and the problem you're uniquely positioned to solve. You do need a media one sheet to introduce yourself. You do need to know how to craft pitch emails or text messages or however you choose to handle it. You do need to be clear about the audience and what appeals to them and the host and their needs. You do need to have a gift to encourage people to take action. Again, it could be an infographic, it could be a checklist, it could be a sample chapter from your book, it could be an app, it could be an audio. But you do want to craft something that gets people to go over to that landing page that you give them and have them go over and sign up for that to get them into your ecosystem. And you do need a marketing campaign to keep the podcast host happy that they chose you. Again, I can tell you right now, very few people do what I showed you all to do tonight about distributing that content, taking that active of a role. If you do that, that host will love you because you're basically doing their job, but you're helping yourself by having that strategy together. Now, I do offer single sessions right now where I can support in some of these areas, and these are some of the different things I can help with. It's a 60-minute session. It's just 150, but these are the sessions that I, do. And then it could be other topics that we do, but it's the single session that I offer. And if you're interested in that, like I said, you can always book that with me. But what I want to do is I want to give you all the link to that, this readiness checklist. And then let's see here. Let me go to copy the link and I'm going to pop it in the chat for you here to have it so you can download that. Okay, so all of you should have access now to the checklist. And one of the things that I do have in the checklist is a link to a podcast, I call a Ready, Set, Get Booked on Podcast assessment or questionnaire. So if you do actually want to talk to me about doing like a consult, this form you'll fill out before we actually talk so I can get a clearer idea about how I can support you best in that session. And you'll check off one of these areas that you want support around. Um, so again, and I also say this too, if you found value in what I shared tonight, I'm going to be doing this. First of all, I would love to get your feedback about what happened tonight. Did you find value in it? Was it worth your time? And would it be something you would recommend? Because I am going to run this workshop again. And yeah, I just know this is the next thing. And so I would love it if you all would let people know about the next time I do it. I'm probably not going to do it again for another maybe 2 weeks, but I love podcasting. I love it. I love listening to them. I love having my own show. It's something that I created this last show as a value add to in my very last program I did 4 years ago. I created a podcast featuring everyone who I helped develop the book. I wasn't going to do another show because I kept dropping them. I would do it for a while, then I'd get lose interest and I'd leave it alone. And then as they were wrapping up their books, I said, I'm going to do another podcast and feature them. So they were my first 5 interviews. And 4 years later, I'm still doing it. So this one is the one I'm sticking with. So and I'm always after, my new clients, I'm like going, I got to get you booked on the show. I've still got, 3 people right now I need to get booked on the show. But I just know it's a valuable opportunity, and it would be my honor to support you in helping you get more visibility that way, but not just visibility, but visibility that leads to helping you build your business. So, if that's of interest to you, please, feel free to, pass it on. I would love to support, and yeah, I'd love your feedback about it. So, yeah, I'll probably do like a little questionnaire or something later that I'll post. But that's basically all I got for you. So, anyway,
Thank you.
yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
very
Thank you.
helpful, as usual.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to hear. Like I said, you can, share with. I'll post the. I'm gonna put up the replay up on YouTube, and I'll post it. Christina, you asked about that. I'll do a post and put the replay up. So maybe in the comments, so other people can see it. That would be great if you could give feedback about tonight. In that thread, I think that'd be a good way for everyone to see it.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then, like I said, when I set the date for the next time I do this, which is probably going to be in like 2 weeks, I will, because I'm going to be traveling next week. So I'd
Mhm.
love to get more people on there. But yeah, if you found value, I'd love to get your feedback. All
Mhm.
righty. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. All
Rodney.
right. Okay. Anyone have any last questions for me? Any-
Mhm.
No? Okay.
That's
And
fine.
did
Comment.
you?
Yeah, just a comment. Just want to say that what I found, the information tonight would help me to become better prepared for next time
Mm-hmm.
rather than sort of willy-nilly expecting or willy-nilly going on a podcast and really not knowing some of the things that I know now and how to be better prepared.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that's what inspired me actually. It's interesting that you're saying this to me because actually your your conversation you and I had is what inspired me. Because I had forgotten, I wrote that checklist like 4 or 5 years ago. I'd forgotten about it. And I was like going through my files. I went, oh, that's pretty good. I need to go pull that out and dust that off and put that out there. Put that out there again. So yeah, so I'm that's what I wanted to do. All righty. All right. Thank you, Sandra, for popping in. And I know you've got a workshop coming up, I think, tomorrow night. If anyone wants to come and check Sandra's workshop out, do you have a second to tell everyone about it if you wish? If you want to, you can. You don't have to. I just wanted to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rodney. First of all, amazing job as usual. I learned so much. Actually, my husband was sitting in on listen. He was sitting listening to. He just went to take out the garbage, but yeah. So he was listening attentively. So thank you again. Really hope you'll do it soon because again, it's valuable information. Yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm hosting a workshop called The Visual Edge, and it's about using AI art to promote your book or your business. Specifically as authors, a lot of times when we're posting on social media or we're speaking, we just have the book cover, right? And then maybe the book cover in a mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you think about different ways? Maybe take that book cover and put it in a museum display, right? And actually, I'm giving away about over 50 prompts tomorrow about that you can use to showcase your business or your book. I mentioned the infographic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, I did a fun one where in your community, I'm not going to take any more time, but I posted an AI art visual I did of an author talking to themselves, right? I don't know if you saw that, Rodney, right? There's like a text conversation. So good twin, bad twin, the two
Yeah.
things that sit on your shoulder and say,
Yeah.
you wrote the book. Nobody's going to buy it. Yes, people are going to buy it. So I really encourage people to think outside the box
Mm-hmm.
and just move away from the norm. Like Rodney always encourages, think differently and
Mhm.
see how you can bring more attention to the experience that you're providing. Maybe you take your book and create an oil painting of it, and maybe sell that. I don't know.
Mhm,
So, but
mhm.
it's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Use the link is in Rodney's group, and
Mhm.
you can use VIP 20 to get 20% off. Plus, if you come, I'm giving a free app building class that will be coming up in June too, so that you can create apps, landing pages, whatever. Mhm. Thanks, Rodney, for
You're
speaking.
welcome. Oh,
Allow
you're
me to
welcome.
share.
Yes. And I've taken your app building class and I've got to get back on that. And I will say, I'll just add this one last thing onto that too, is that when you repurpose that content on social that plan I showed you all, having a tool like Sanja's tool to create the imagery to go with the text will make that post stand out more also on your news feed, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you want to put it. So again, I'm really big about building out a full ecosystem where that, and trying to streamline this process as possible so that you don't get overwhelmed because all of us are being told we've got to produce more content. But I know that producing a lot of content can also be a pain in the tuchus if you don't have a strategy to be able to do it on a regular basis. It's going to take up your whole day to do it. So I'm working actively to produce systems to help, produce that process. Sanja's really great about the image part of it. I love the image part, but I like to talk, as you maybe have already figured out. I like to just a little something I have. I like to kind of say run my mouth. So it's like, so being able to take that audio and then repurpose that in multiple ways with text is to me is something that I absolutely love AI for in that respect. So those images can go inside of emails as well as on social media, what have you. So just know that as I'm moving forward with this, I am working actively to develop a support ecosystem to help all of you get things done more efficiently, but consistently, because we got to stay in front of our people. We got to stay in front of them. And I drop the ball with it because some days I'm just like, oh, God, I feel like trying to come up with something. Come up with something else. So being able to take that and repurpose it always helps a lot. So anyway, all righty. Thank you all so much for coming, and I'll have the replay up soon, and I'll see you on the next call. All
Thank
right.